everybody, and welcome back to the Broadway Jets YouTube channel. You'll know me from Twitter as NYJ Mike. I'm joined as always by the master of receipts, NYJ Matt. And Matt, the Jets, after a 5-game losing streak, they come out and they beat the playoff hopeful Texans 30-6. Zach Wilson has the best game of his career. The Jets are still alive. They go to Miami next week with a chance, with a weak schedule after, with Aaron Rodgers looming. Is the season over? Maybe not.
It feels good to win one, right?
It does.
If you are here and you like us on Twitter, hit subscribe. We're trying to grow the YouTube a bit. But Mike, you've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now around tank versus no tank. We get losing games gets you a better pick, potentially a top 5 pick. Take a future offensive tackle that's going to be your starter for 10 years. Maybe take Marvin Harrison Jr. or a quarterback. But there is something about the fabric of your team. Again, this was your take early on. And it's, do you want these young guys to be another 4-13 year, a loser team? As you get 5, 6, 7 straight losses, that's when these guys start liking tweets, negative tweets about them. It's just the vibe of the team goes down, and you question, all right, are these young guys going to get sick of it and potentially request a trade? You saw the win cam. You saw the team on Twitter after. They love each other, and even just a simple win against the Houston Texans in a game where it's raining, it's crappy, the team came together, and I looked at that game, and I'm like, I would much rather this than be up 2 more spots in the draft. So, Mike, you've been on that, and I think a lot of fans agree with it after seeing the energy from the team after the game. It just was a good win for this team, and now you have 4 games left to maybe make a miracle run, starting with Miami.
Yeah, and it also depends where your team is. Like if you are a team that was supposed to suck, and you need a quarterback, and there's like a generational guy, I get it. Like the 2017 Jets were supposed to suck, and they ended up not being that horrible. But that team, fine. You want to lose some games down the stretch, whatever. But this team, you go 7-10 last year. You have a great defense. Your coach is imagine all these weeks, like, you believe in the philosophy, and then you just keep losing. You're losing tough games, and you lose some close games, but your offense is playing terrible. Like, you lose confidence. This is so important to keep the locker room. And for all the negative stuff about Salah, the guys always play hard for him. So it's nice to see them see the fruits of their labor pay off with a big win. The season is not over. And again, we have Aaron Rodgers coming back next year. I'm all in. We talked about it a little bit in our last video. If we would even consider taking a quarterback, I wouldn't. Well, I understand why people would. Depends on the guy and the pick. But man, we're not dead. Because you said it, like somehow you beat the Dolphins next week. It's not that crazy. The Jets on paper match up decently well with the Dolphins. They're not the best running team. The Jets have a great pass defense. If you can score some points, which is what we've been saying for the last 2 years, basically, you have a chance to win any game. So who knows? And then after that, Matt, we have the Commanders, the Browns, and the Patriots. And the Browns have Joe Flacco. So, like you're telling me you somehow win next week and you can't run the table against Sam Howell, Joe Flacco, and Bailey Zappi. Like, come on. You're muted, dude. You're fucking mute.
My dog was barking in the background, so I didn't want to make you hear that. But you're right. And Miami is playing right now, and Jalen Waddle got banged up in the first quarter. Connor Williams got banged up in the first quarter, and Tyreek Hill just went down with an ankle injury. So the Dolphins now coming off a short week to play the Jets on Sunday in Miami. Maybe they're without 1 or 2 guys, and that 13-point spread goes down to a 6.5, 7-point spread. And that's barring Tyreek Hill out. That actually changes the line that much if Hill and Waddle were to be out. But
look at the Texans this week. They were missing Tank Dell, and Nico Collins got hurt. No Dalton Schultz. It changes your game plan for sure.
Yeah, and dude, credit to Zach. I mean, we have not been the biggest Zach supporters, but again, we've always said we're not going to kill anyone for being a Zach Wilson truther. If you love Zach Wilson, he's your guy. Stand by him, right? If you think he has a talent, support him.
What a satisfying Monday for the Zach Wilson truthers.
We will always support whoever's under center. And look, you then question, all right, should they have benched him? after the Buffalo game, and probably, they needed a spark and they tried something new. And Saleh said, "Hey, he's our best chance to win the game. He's going to start." And even the first half, Mike, you felt that they were playing well, and they just weren't scoring and finishing drives. But I really thought it was gonna be another one of those games where maybe they pull out like a 13-10 win if they were to win the game. To put up 30 points in the second half
All
just
offense too, base. I mean,
blows him, dude.
the last couple of field goals were, the Texans went for on fourth, but most of it's on offense. And it was all Zach. Like Jets didn't run the ball well.
Mike, I also would argue, and I think they used motion the third most that they have this year. They went back to more of an 11 personnel. Like they did a little bit different things in terms of play calling, but it wasn't too much different. It just felt like Zach actually went out there and said, "Fuck it, I don't care what happens anymore. You can trade me in the offseason. You can make me inactive. I'm just gonna go play football and
I
throw the
know.
ball and not overthink it." And he did it. So
Yeah,
credit to
no, he was
him.
great. It's just funny. This is it took him 34 starts and getting benched 3 times. Like the stakes have always been. It's just this is not the highest the stakes have been for Zach. So like he got benched last year. Mike White gets hurt. He comes back, gets benched again in a must-win game, and then gets benched in a must-win game this year. I don't know. It just look. I want to see more of it. I didn't like similarly to the Chiefs game where he was great. Also, I think he was even better on Sunday. I didn't think that he could do that. I did not think that he had the capability to be 27 out of 35, that many completions. And I mean, it was very impressive. It was very impressive.
Mike, there's also something to it about the Jets quarterbacks on pace could have like the worst year ever. Like we keep saying that how it's just so bad, and now he's managed to put together a year so far of 60% completion, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks, 2,500 yards, and look, Zach Wilson needs to prove a lot more to me to be on the roster next year. Truly, like we can come back next Sunday and be like, we lost 35-3 and it was fucking terrible. But right now he deserves his flowers. He played phenomenal. Garrett Wilson, Tyler Conklin, Breece Hall, these guys again have another steady game, especially Garrett and Breece, who had like 60% of the target share, and that's with Breece only getting 10 carries. So they every chance we could get, we gave them the ball, and like it felt good to win one,
Yeah.
and season's alive.
Listen, third down is the real key because I think the Jets were 6 for 14 on third down this time. So that's what it is. You convert some third downs, now you have more plays and you could do more stuff. And it's an obvious factor of the game. Obviously, the defense was unbelievable. I
How many
mean,
times is DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, and Michael Carter II going to have a game where they just don't? And I get it. They play
nothing
backup
happens.
receivers. They did it against number one receivers week in and week out anyway. They're that good.
They
It doesn't
just
even make
no
sense.
one no, and then Sauce gets called for a ridiculous penalty. I mean, dude, the ref comes out and you call illegal contact and don't say who it's on. Like, what are you doing? You're just a dick.
You know what's
What is
crazy,
that?
Mike? I think the refs called a pretty good game outside of 2 calls. That one was egregious, but it did feel like they let them play a little bit more. Every time there was a third down incompletion, I'd be like, "Oh, are they going to throw a flag?"
I'm like,
And they never
yeah,
did outside of the one play. So I actually give the refs a little bit of credit. Mike, the one thing I've been thinking about a lot, and every Jet fan's probably thinking it. We talked about it. You're 5-8, and you just wish you could go back and flip any of the losses to a win. Because if
ugh,
you're 6-7, you can even afford maybe one more loss. Like your whole year is different. But Mike, I really think they earned their record. And what I mean by that is you won a game against Philly with Hurts throwing the pick at the last second. You won the
the,
Giant game,
the Giants game you have a 99% chance to lose. Yeah,
which we didn't deserve. And then you could, maybe on the flip side, hey, Chiefs game. They don't
it
call
doesn't.
that.
Matt, you're right. It doesn't feel like the Jets should be more than 5-8. It just feels like what we saw on Sunday was the blueprint. Like if Rodgers plays, that's what we would have seen a lot of this year. I really do. Your defense is flying around. They're not on the field every single second. You're winning the field position matchup. You're playing complementary football, and you have a guy who can extend drives on third down, and then you're gonna fucking kill people. And that's what would have happened. And it's so sad. But that's why you're excited for 2024. And that's why I'm not as excited about Zach Wilson as a whole, because even in this game, you were missing still a ton of offensive linemen. You're playing with I don't even know who the other guard is. I don't even know who he is. Then Tippmann got hurt for a little bit, so Harrison Glazer's brother comes in,
Yeah,
and then it's like it's just so all these issues persisted the other few games, and you couldn't score a touchdown in 35 consecutive drives, and you're wasting games in this season. So obviously, again, Zach was terrific, but we need to see at least another couple of performances like this because Matt, if you're a backup quarterback, like a legitimate backup quarterback, and your main quarterback gets hurt, and you come into a situation like the Jets, who have an elite defense and have played like an elite defense, you shouldn't be 5-8. You know what I mean? It's close, but the
Like,
way that they lost
yeah.
these games, man, it's not like the games that Zach played well. They won every single time except for the Chiefs game, and they could have won that game. And then you just don't score any points for a month and a half. So
I know, but I really think, again, not a big Zach Wilson fan. I thought he played well against the Raiders, and I felt like the offense as a whole let him down that game. And I'm like,
sure, that's fair.
I wanted him to pop up and win that game. And then
Statistically, he
yeah,
was fine, and in the Chargers game too. But
the Chargers game he didn't play well, and the Bills game he didn't play well. So I understood the move, but it really felt like he was broken last year, and this year they think he was salvageable, and that's why he was here. But also why I think they earned 5-8 is they didn't end up getting a veteran quarterback, which we can talk about 5 million times in a row.
that's
But
my point. That's why I'm not comfortable with Zach being the backup next year unless he does a lot
Mike,
more. Matt, it's got to be
I would
better.
argue I would argue 3 out of 4 games. Maybe it doesn't have to be as good because it's hard to throw for 300 yards, be as amazing as he was
No,
on
of
Sunday. But
course.
I need 3 out of 4 of these games coming up to be like over 260 with multiple touchdown games with
Or
limited turnovers.
how about just healthy offense? You know what I mean? Like where we're not one for 13 on third down, where we don't score 6 points. Like if even if he has okay stats and just scored 20 points, like I need more of that from him. More of the I don't know what it
But
is. It's like
I,
a ability to galvanize the offense.
let's
I
take a
need it.
step. No, let's think about it though, because the Jets' third down offense is historically horrible. Even 6 for 14 brought up their percentage to be like 23.5, 24%. Like historically bad. The second worst team is the Giants with like 32%.
Oof.
So Mike, I look back at the Zach Wilson package this year and it hasn't been great, right? But I really feel like there's been so many times where it's like when we finally get a first down, there's a holding call or a false start by a right tackle, and
Or a drop.
everything kind of builds where it's like, okay, everything around him was good. There was no drops. Offensive line was pretty decent. Like I just feel like if they can show that complementary football all across an offense, maybe Zach could be a QB2. That's what I would land at. Zach Mike has never shown me
No,
in 35 starts that he can be a QB1. He really hasn't. But if he
I've
can build off yesterday, it's good.
I don't think you're wrong. I think if you said before, I texted you this before. If you said before the season, statistically, like if Zach was at 60%, like whoever the veteran quarterback, there goes my camera, and there's a nice hat. That was my pizza. Whoever, whoever the Jets got, if you said 60%, whatever, on pace for like 3,500 yards, more touchdowns than picks, I'd be like, that's what we need. And Zach did do it. You're right. It's just not the consistency. And I agree, it's not just him. I think Hackett is not very good. And I'm personally fine with Rodgers holding the whole organization hostage. I don't care because of what you saw yesterday. We just need a quarterback. And of course, other things in offense, like you said, no ridiculous penalties every 5 seconds, even though they called a hold on Becton that wasn't a hold. Um, no less drops. You need another receiver. You need things, but God, like imagine we had fucking Rodgers, man. Like you win all of these games. You win all of these games. Oh, and they're gonna do it. They have Rodgers on the roster. They have the same defense. Everybody will be back. You know, you're gonna only add to this team. So and that's what we talked about last video too on Friday. Woody Johnson said, "Listen, we're top 8 Super Bowl odds to start the season. Felt great about our team. Let's run it back." And I fucking love that. I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Mike, I think there's a few scenarios that play out after the Dolphins game. If Rodgers medically cleared for the Christmas Eve, Commanders Washington matchup, the Jets lose on Sunday. Preferably you don't play Rodgers. I'd love to see him anyway. I don't care, but I don't think they're going to trot him out there.
I don't think so either.
Then you can either win two ways. You win a game where more like the Eagles game where Zach doesn't play amazing, but he doesn't play bad. And you still win, and now you bring Rodgers back, and it's less commotion. But there's another path where Zach Wilson throws.
Oh, you're saying you mean next year? Okay.
No, I mean this year. Hear me out. So Zach Wilson beats Miami on Sunday, throws for 180 yards, a touchdown, a pick. Rodgers healthy, you play him automatically against the Commanders. I just see a path where Wilson's going to throw for 300 yards and like 2 touchdowns again, and then Rodgers medically cleared. And if the Jets play Rodgers over him, which I would be 1,000,000% behind, it's going to be like if Rodgers doesn't win that game, it's like the Jets ruined Zach Wilson's momentum. It's going to be like, I have a fear of this happening, but just beat Miami, we'll figure it out.
If the Jets don't play Aaron Rodgers in a potential game that they need to win to make the playoffs, because Zach Wilson had 2 good games in 37 starts, I can't do it.
I don't think the Jets will do that.
It just won't so have happened that they're back-to-back, like in a row right before. It's tough.
That's the media narrative, though. That's what I think. It's funny that would build from it. And
dude, the media is so obvious. Like everything that's gonna happen, like obviously we don't know what's gonna happen. But once we could just say like there's 2 paths, and you can just easily see what's gonna. Everyone's just says ridiculous shit. They overreact. Some people do it like kind of as a joke. Some people not. I don't know. Like it's just what everyone's gonna say. Like that would be what people say, and it's
very predictable. It's very predictable, but it's weird because there's only 4 games left, and I just keep thinking if you win, like if you just beat Miami, then there's only 3 left, and you can get to 9-8. Like it's just a weird thought process that's going through. But like once we hit the Sunday, man, everything's gonna change. You have the final 3 games is blueprinted for you whether you win or lose, right? It's right in front of you what you're gonna do with Rodgers. But yeah, Zach hopefully has the same mindset. The defense again, unbelievable. Will McDonald, first full sack. Quinnen gets a sack. Jermaine Johnson with a huge tip that would have been a touchdown. I don't know if they scored that drive anyway. I think they did, so it didn't matter. But the whole defense played great as always.
Like you want to say, obviously the Texans had injuries, but
fuck them.
Weather seemed to be a factor. The Jets threw for fucking 300 yards. Get out of my face. You hold the number 1 passing offense in the league to 53 yards. What they do? 54 passing yards for the Texans. It's insane. And it's just, and this is a fresh defense. It's not on the field all the time. The Jets did a great job. We keep saying complimentary football. Even in the first half, you drive to the 40. You're not going 3 and out. Then Thomas Morstead is a monster. He punts it right to the 1-yard line. Oh, God.
It was
so
good
one. It's so good because you go through the whole offseason and you're like, this is the vision. Like, we have a great defense. We have Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. Once Rodgers gets hurt, of course, but this is what it was supposed to be. And it's fun. You have a conviction. This is why we think the Jets are going to be good. And then it's nice to see them do what you thought. It's tough that it's week 14, and you're 5-8. But we're all right. We're right there. We're in a good spot. I feel really good. I think we're going to win Sunday. I wouldn't want to play us.
It would be really cool to have back-to-back years of playing meaningful late December football. Obviously, it didn't go our way last year. But, Mike, I think we have the blueprint for 2024.
Yeah.
If you want to even keep Zach Wilson as the quarterback 2 I would still get Ryan Tannehill and just have 3, Rodgers, Tannehill, and Wilson. Like, it just have a weird trio.
Every team is, look at all the QB injuries this year.
Zach would be the highest paid QB3 ever. Like, he's getting the QB, the second overall salary.
Yeah. But by the way, can we not let up 1 million rushing yards on Sunday? Can this team not run the ball down our throat? Because the pass defense is so good. The offense has to do its part. and keep Miami off the field a little bit. They've got to flip the field, and then don't let them run down our throat. It's been all year, and it's not always the defense's fault. They're on the field a lot, and Al Woods getting hurt doesn't help. But
Dude, I don't even like the first Miami game. It was such a weird game with Black Friday with the Tim Boyle start, with the Hail Mary at the end. The Jets were being very competitive in the first half. In the second half, we just couldn't get the ball. It was like such a weird game where I don't put enough stock in that, where I'm like, oh, we're completely outmatched. Like there's been times in the past 5 years we played the Bills early on. Like I don't think we'll even compete with them when we get them a second time. And I don't feel that way against the Dolphins. Again, injuries happen on a short week.
On paper, it's a good matchup, Matt. You know, Sauce and Reed, Tyreek and Waddle. It just can't be the running game. Look at the, but it's a lot on the offense. You have last time the Jets. So we just referenced the game. The Jets had 159 yards of offense, which is insane, and the Dolphins had 400. So it's just not, it's on the offense. You got to stick in the game. The touchdown the Jets scored early on was fucking pick six. So I feel good, Matt. I really do. I feel like I did after the Chiefs and Eagles games, where I'm like, we could play with anybody in the league.
It's a palate cleanser for sure.
Yeah.
If we're being honest. And I loved your quote of the fabric of the team can change. And Mike, if they finish 4-13, also it's funny because I tweeted earlier in the week, I was like, I don't think the Jets are gonna go 0-5. Because I think Nick Ferrari, I don't know his last name, he does a good job, be one of the beat reporters. He was like, hey, the real possibility that Jets go 0-5, it could lead to this. I'm like, they're not going to go 0-5. They're too talented on defense. The same roster that played on Sunday was the roster that beat the Eagles and almost beat the Chiefs at home. So they're good enough to compete in these games. And no, they're not going to go 0-5, and they didn't. And there's so many replies in that tweet that basically were like, how do you see them scoring? There's no way that we win any of these games. And I always felt the Houston game was more likely of a win than people had thought. And then the what was he cooking parlay hit, 25 for 475. So Breece Hall anytime. Breece Hall 125 total yards. He had 125 on the dot, and Jets -3.
Sick. This is why we play.
Someone built one similar to that, but added like Wilson over 250, Garrett over 100, and he put like 25 to like $7,000. I'm like, dude,
you said to me that you were gonna do Zach Wilson over 300 passing yards, but the conditions stopped you.
Mike, you told me that. I have no memory. No memory of sharing that with you.
We talked about like a day before.
Did we talk about it on FaceTime, on the video, or in text?
Well, it's not on text. I can just look.
I'm just making the point that my memory is so bad that you were like, damn, you were going to take 300. I'm like, I didn't want to take credit for saying that if I didn't. But I don't remember
why
saying that.
You said it in a private chat.
Like, I was so hungover yesterday. All weekend, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to the game. I'll wake up, rain game. Let's go. We don't get a lot of them every year in terms of like going to games, right? You get to 8 games a year. I have to go. I was hungover through the game. Like I had a blanket on the couch, just shaking, watching the first half. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking die.
Well,
and they played great.
I got nervous because we planned to go, and I was also fucked up on Saturday night, and I woke up at like 9:30 on Sunday. And I was like, oh shit, I wasn't gonna go at that point. I was like also very hungover, and I was like, hey, like just woke up.
It's so funny because I felt bad reaching out. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna make it. So it's like when we both had that same feeling, it was like the most euphoric moment ever. It's like when you don't want to go somewhere and you cancel plans, you just sat in your basement in high school and drank. Like that's how good that felt.
The best. Poor DJ. We didn't get to see DJ Bienemy, friend of the program.
DJ's a great guy. We had a lot of friends. A ton of my college friends and their girlfriends, fiancés, and wives went to the game. And they're like, "Want tailgate?" I'm like, "Let's go." L17 will be there. And at like 11 o'clock, I was like, I'm throwing up. I can't. Yeah, I'm like, I couldn't move.
I went on a random date like months ago with who happens to be a mutual friend of your college friend's girlfriend. So I was chatting with her like before on Thursday. And she's like, "You going to the game?" I'm like, "I'll be there. Matt's coming. Done." And I never said anything. I actually, your buddy texted me. So
we haven't talked about this yet. He texted me as well and was like, "Levy or Mike is I don't know. Is it his fiance's like best friend? Like what's the connection?
I think they're pretty close friends. I was very respectful, luckily, because I didn't know this.
Luckily, as if you weren't. You're always
No,
respectful.
I'm very respectful. I'm a respectful guy. But
I don't think we talked about it, but real quick, the kiss cam during the Dolphins game where you were next to like the CEO's daughter and you were like, please don't put me on this kiss cam next to the CEO.
And he's there too.
That was great.
Then people will think I'm a loser if they put me on there and I didn't do it. I would have done it.
Dude, what a week. All right, Mike, we'll probably do a normal video. I want to do like a mailbag. We'll get back after it. Like, subscribe, comment, do whatever you want. But if you made it this far, as always, I try to throw it in there. DM us on Twitter that you're a fan of the show. We'll make sure to follow back, add you to chats, maybe a Discord. We just like to talk about the Jets, and we'll have 4 more games to do it.
We're going to win Sunday.
Yes, sir. Ready to go? Good to go?
Let's do it.
All right, Mike. I'll talk to you, buddy.
Jet up.